Yep, it's going.
All righty.
Well, if we're recording, then why don't we just start the meeting?
So be it.
Okay. The first thing that we normally do is self-introductions, announcements, and questions. And I'm responsible for getting it started. So who do we have up here in Linda's iPad? Is that Bob Cutter off the corner there? I got a half a face or something.
Well, that's because you got two of us.
See?
It's Linda, my wife's iPad, and Bob Cutter, KI0G, for the winter at Moab.
Okay. I happen to be next on my chart, so I'm just K3NI, club president, located in Placida, Colorado. And I guess that's everything. Eric? Okay. Eric. Oh, Eric, you, yeah, there you go.
Being here. Yep, my name's Eric. I'm K0JEG, Battlement Mesa, Colorado, and glad to be here.
All right, Jess, W6CKC.
Hi, Jess, W6CKC, and we're in Basalt. And up at the top left-hand corner, you'll see Eric recording. Eric, thank you for doing the recording.
Gerry's next on my screen here at 6HQQ. Go ahead. Gerry.
Okay, I had to unmute the darn thing first. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. You're doing fine.
Okay, N6HUQ, and Trish is standing over here. Trish, come on over here a second.
Hi, N6SUM.
She's in the background here. So back to you there, Clark.
Okay. Are you aware, Trish, that we've got a replacement for you worked out?
Oh, it is. That's wonderful. Who is it?
It's Sue and Bob.
Oh.
And I
oh,
think
you
Kevin,
guys always step in when it's needed. Thank you.
and I think
so
Kevin
much.
also chipped in on that one. So.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Next is Christine, but she's muted right now. And I'm not sure I got her attention yet. Hello. Okay. Unmute. There you go.
Hi, I'm Christine, K0ALT, in Beach Valley between Silt and Newcastle. And my husband, Mike, also may be popping in from time to time.
All right. Steve, W0SRG. Go ahead, Steve.
Hi, this is Steve in Aspen, W0SRG, and today must be a bluebird ski day because the sun is out. There was plenty of snow, so everybody that can ski is probably out there. The line is probably a mile long, and there was a picture in this morning's paper which had people at the burn trying out the official opening of the chair, and shoulder to shoulder as far as you could see. But anyway, we're fine here in Aspen.
Okay. Richard, K4ULD. Go ahead.
Hi, hello everybody. Happy Christmas. And I'm Richard, K4ULD, in my marooned here in Florida at the moment. But wish I was back there, but not when it's so damn cold. Actually, it was 44 degrees this morning here, and someone told me it was 54 in Glenwood. So what am I doing here? But anyhow, nice to see everyone. And hi, Linda.
Okay. Next is Ken and Betty. Go ahead.
Good morning. Merry Christmas. It's great to see everyone. Betty, KD0YDH, and we live in a rifle.
Yes, thank you. And good morning and Merry Christmas to you all. Ken here, KB0HP. And just really, it's great to see all of you. You guys look great.
Okay, I'm planning on attending this BE event on Tuesday evening, and I was going to drop off your RT systems. I've got the package right here. Might as well use the camera while we got it. Ready to go back to you. Are you going to be involved in the event?
Which event? Which event?
This is the thing Brian set up for the search and rescue. It's a VE event.
No, I'm not involved.
But will you be at home so I can just drop it off?
Yeah.
I'll just throw it at your. I'll just throw it at your mailbox as I go by. All right. Next is WB0ITG. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Chris, WB0ITG, way out here in Montrose, Colorado. I see a lot of familiar faces from my active days back in the 1980s and some new faces here. So, hello, everybody. Thanks for the mailed invitation and the email invite also. Glad to connect with you guys this morning. And Clark, I got curious about your last comment. So are you doing a volunteer exam session for like search and rescue folks? Over.
Roger, and Brian has set that up, and I think Bob Bloodkey may have been involved in it as well. Yeah, it's on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and it's in a big barn out. I hope it's pretty much outside because of the COVID situation. And it'll last into the evening because we've got quite a few people, so we need about 7 or 8 VEs. So I obviously volunteered to help out. Let's see where I am now. Chuck, I think, is next. Chuck, if you can unmute.
Good morning, everybody. Chuck, N0NHJ in Lakewood, Washington. And happy holidays.
Okay, next is Brian, N0THY. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, this is Brian N0THY. Yeah, just want to say good morning to everybody, and anyway, glad to see everybody here and meeting on Zoom, and wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody out there.
Very good. K9MWN and DBY. N0DBY. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Sue, N0DBY. Good evening. Good morning to everybody and Merry Christmas. And we're in Glenwood Springs. And it's only 32 degrees here, Richard, so you are warmer than we are.
By the way, I do like your jerseys and also Betty's.
Okay, Kevin, KD0MA.
Wow, you forgot Bob.
K9MWM. What I was going to say was that, Gerry, make sure you tell Trish that it took 3 people to replace her for doing the internet stuff. So anyway, that's it. I'm in Glenwood with Susie here. Kind of hunkered down like everybody else.
Okay. Now it's time for me to ask Kevin, KD0MA, if you'll unmute and go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Clark, and thanks, Bob and Sue, for hosting this morning. Kevin, KD0MA in Glenwood.
We can't hear you, Clark. Try again.
I'm just saying Fred's got to unmute himself. K0VK. Go ahead, Fred.
Morning, everybody. It's Frank in Vail, Colorado. Hope you're all having a good start to winter here.
I hit the space bar. Good morning, Fred, K0VK in Woody Creek. I was hitting the space bar to unmute and it wasn't working. Go figure.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I got somebody I don't know is called Gregory Pickerel. Is that right?
Yes, here I am, AA0TL. Good morning, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Gosh, I'm enjoying the weather. I just took a brisk walk with the dog, and I'm still here. I'm 71, and I'm still living in the cold country. Haven't moved to Florida quite yet, but I feel it in my bones that I might be headed that way. But I just can't resist this climate in this country. It's beautiful. Hope everyone has a nice day and stays safe.
Okay, very good. Anybody else that I might have missed?
I have a request, and I don't know how it's going to work, but Gerry, myself, and I forgot who else. And Clark. There's 3 of us that need to share things we're going to be doing, Jess. So could you make sure that we have sharing privileges?
I think you missed Frank up in Vail.
I worked with Gerry this morning, and Gerry was able to share, and I'm pretty sure everybody's ready to go. Bob, would you try to share real quick just to make sure that we can, we're set to go?
Sure.
I think we missed Frank up in Vail. He was in there for a moment.
No, he said hello.
Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you're good. Everybody's good, I think.
All right. Let's see. Our agenda starts out with Kevin, KD0MA, on a microwave voting receiver installation at repeater sites, yada, yada, yada. But I think with any further ado, let's just start with Kevin and let him do what he wanted to show us. And where is
Okay, I can get her going here. Everybody just kind of hold your questions and comments to the end, and then we can go back through slides if we need to. If at any time you can't hear me, let me know. And let me see if we can get this going here. Come on, go. There it is. Share. And from current slide. Okay, here's a basic rundown of what we're going to be talking about. This isn't going to take long. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. Let me know if you have questions later. First thing we'll visit is Rocky Mountain Ham Radio's network. As you can see, they've built a network from basically Cheyenne to Albuquerque, and they extended over to Grand Junction last year. Bob Cutter and I worked with the guys up on Sunlight last September. You can see a little bit of nomenclature of where their antennas are located. Also note they are using the 5.9 gigahertz band. We will come back to that in a minute. I can get the slide to advance. There we go. This is our current system. Fairly simple, goes from Sunlight to Anvil, Sunlight to Snowmass, and Sunlight over to my house in Spring Valley. There will be a future path over to Iron Mountain that we'll talk about in addition later on. Here's some pictures of what we have installed. I'll let you kind of glance at those for a little bit. They're self-explanatory. Next slide. Are there some dark clouds on our horizon? And yes, there are. As many of you have heard, the FCC has decided to take the frequencies away from us. We are in the 3.4 gigahertz band, and that was shared with some government use. And the FCC decided to pull that away and auction it to the cell phone carriers for 5G bandwidth. This has been ongoing for a couple of years now. They have issued an order. But prior to that, we filed comments as well as the ARRL and AMSAT. About all you can do is, speak your mind. You can't really do more than that. They still made their decision. And the latest I can find on this is in the January edition of QST. If you go clear back to, I believe, page 68 or whatever, you'll see a very simple blurb that the ARRL is asking the FCC to reconsider. Well, that's going to be like spitting at a battleship. That's just not going to do us any good. Bottom line is we're going to have a write-off of almost $4,000 worth of hardware. The only question is when. There is commentary going around that we might be able to continue using these frequencies throughout 2021, but along about 2022, we better be moving along. Not real happy about this. I don't like writing off $4,000 worth of stuff. There's no one really to blame here. Nobody really saw this coming. It's one of those things that has occurred. It's got my fingerprints on it too. I've approved all the payments for all the hardware. I've bought some of the hardware myself for expansion and hardware maintenance spares. So it is what it is. We can talk about it additionally. Next slide here. Where do we go from here? Well, perhaps what we should have done, and what we probably will do, is go to the 5.9 gigahertz band. We have an actual allocation of frequencies in that band. And you know, like that's where we're headed. How soon, we're not sure. We're gonna have to sort that out. Well, what about the hardware for that? Rocky Mountain Ham Group, and also a big ham group up in the Seattle area, is using this manufacturer here. It's basically the same sort of hardware we're using for the 3.4 stuff. Comparable prices, good prices really. You know, we should be able to complete all this for very close to the 4,000 that we're going to throw away. Problem is, this stuff is made in Latvia, and there are two versions of it. There's one version for US version, which is very restricted on frequencies that are available in it. And then there's a international version, which is the one we're going to need. And they're a little tricky to order. You know, I don't know, kind of an analogy would be kind of like buying a right-hand drive car for the US. It's not illegal, it's just a lot tougher to do. Okay, moving along. There's a bullet item in the introduction about voting receivers. Let's go to that. Why did we build this microwave system? It was for the original intent of doing a voting system for the 8.8 repeater. And if you look at that drawing, you'll see that there will be four 146.28 receivers scattered around the coverage area of the 8.8 transmitter. 8.8 transmitter transmits pretty well. That's a 75 watt transmitter, and it covers this area just fine. Your problem is talk back in. That's where these voting receivers will come into play. Depending on which signal is the best, the signal that is transmitted on Sunlight. Again, Iron Mountain is a future thing. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. This does require a server to operate this. This is an all-star system. It's very similar technology to the all-star system we're using for linking from around the country here, but it is different. It does require a full-time Linux server to make it work. This slide here is a little more detailed. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but it does kind of show the complexity behind this. Each site has to have what's called an RTCM, which is a radio thin client module. It's an all-star node that converts interface to a repeater to an IP stream that then goes back to the central server. Of course, there's standard Ethernet switching and or routing. What I've depicted here is a flat network. That's what we're going to start with. Later on, we'll change it over to a routed network, but that adds another layer of complexity that we're not going to deal with now. The flat network will work fine for this simple system. I did test it, and it does work. I'll leave that slide at this point. Then the last subject is Iron Mountain. And many of you or probably most of you are familiar with Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park up on top of the hill there north of Glenwood. That hill in the center you see there is known as Iron Mountain. It's been a radio site for decades. My previous employer, built the very first radio site up there and the power line to it back in the late 1960s. So Chris, ITG, and I are well familiar with that site. Some of you that have been up there may have noticed that above the very highest roller coaster up there is an antenna farm. It's behind their gates and fences. You're not supposed to walk up there, but that's where we're going to be going. This hill is not the highest hill in the area. You can see that virtually every mountain behind it is much higher. But its advantage is that it has good visual coverage west to the south and to the east. And I think it's going to be an okay voting receiver site. I do have some hesitations. For the next slide here, this is a picture of where we're going to be going. Two arrows, the arrow at the very top, the red arrow at the top, that shows where Sunlight Peak is. The arrow down in the middle there, that's the building that we're going to be going into. You'll notice a lot of antennas at that site. The site has been somewhat poorly, if at all, managed properly through the years. There's a lot of buried users up there. There's two-way radio. There's cell phone stuff, and there's a lot of broadcast stuff. And that gives me the willies the most, is that broadcasters are not known for having some of the best equipment to be near. And it remains to be seen how well this site is going to work for us as far as interference goes. But we'll see how it goes. We have a lease for the site, thanks to Bob Cutter and Bob Lucky. We just haven't gotten around to getting it done. Okay, that's the end of my show. I'll turn it over for questions and we can go back to other slides.
Hi, Kevin, it's Richard here. I wondered about that 4K. I mean, is it, you know, we've just invested all that money, you know, to provide our service, and now they're telling us we can't use the frequency. What about getting some compensation from them?
Well, that was one of the talking points in my response to the FCC. I could maybe try to pull that up, but I did ask for reimbursement, and haven't seen the check.
Oh, okay. Did they respond to your request?
Of course not. No.
Oh dear. Okay.
This is Sue. Is there any way to convert 3.4 to 5 point whatever it is?
Well, one of my slides mentioned if we can get feed horns for the 2-foot dishes we have, convert the 2-foot dish from a 3.4 to a 5.9 dish, if we can get the feed horns for them. I have not been successful in finding any of those. Might throw that back on to Chuck to see if he knows some eBay site or something. We might find it.
Yeah, I think we could do it if we were staying with Ubiquity, but going to the microtick stuff, that sort of changes the factor there as far as it. But I'll do some poking at it and see, but I don't think we're going to find anything that's particularly clean to do that. Just for everybody's information, there's another part of the 3 gigahertz band that was being used for satellite downlinks that they're shuffling people out of and doing that sort of stuff. And the auction for that's been going on the last couple of weeks. And the last article headline I saw yesterday was they've topped $8 billion in auction bids for that spectrum. So you can understand part of the demand there and why this is such a challenge for us. The only other thing I've heard a little bit about, Kevin, and I haven't seen any direct threat yet, but there is some push at the FCC to reclaim some of that 5.9 spectrum also, and I don't know where that's going to fall out in the long run.
Yeah, I know the Rocky Mountain Ham guys were a little concerned with that as well, but it's going to be a little tougher challenge because that little sliver of frequencies were allocated to several users. You know, the amateurs, land mobile. There was something else in there. So
yeah, they're doing the smart vehicle communication stuff up there, I think, is part of that. So But yeah, it's just going to be a challenge for all of that. But yeah, I'll poke around a little bit on the dishes and see if there's a chance. Yeah, in theory, we should be able to reuse those. The biggest thing will just be finding a decent feed that'll work with the other equipment.
Kevin, Jess.
Go ahead, Jess.
The chair of the FCC, I think, is going to resign effective early January. And that suggests from the articles that I've read that the FCC may be in a little bit of disarray for a while. That being said, would it seem likely that we'd be good for 2021 with where we are? Is that the sense that we could get about 2021?
It's hard to say. I was on a CCARC call here a couple of months ago, and I think our ARRL representative was there, and he was the one who was implying that we may be okay for another year.
Okay. I would go along with that. I think the FCC is going to be in disarray for a year, and hopefully we'll be able to sneak in through the back door and not be noticed, if you will. So we hope for the best.
Usually the question is, when they're going to have build out of 5G in this area, probably Aspen and Vale sooner than later, but will they be building out on 3.4 gigahertz? Who knows?
Yeah, usually with this kind of thing, if you're at least showing that you're making progress, they'll kind of let you slide a little bit. If you just say, hey, we're working on it, this is an expense, we need to do this. It's not, if we have a plan in place, I think that, we can probably get away with a little more time in a lot of cases. But yeah, they probably won't be using this right away, I wouldn't think, at least in this area. From what I've seen, I mean, there is 5G out there already. AT&T has some 5G sites now, and they're using other bands for now.
Just a thought, if they're going to get all these billions for the frequencies, I would have thought they could afford to let us have 4K.
Yeah, you'd think that's part of the 600 meg auction is the UHF repack. They're getting compensated for that. The TV stations are getting compensated.
The big thing is that we're secondary users at 3.4. We're not the primary users, whereas at 600, it's the broadcasters are the primary users and have the the primary allocation there. And so it's the U.S. government that's the primary allocation there. It was military radar stuff that used to operate in there and such. So that's why the government managed to clear stuff off. They've been Congress mandated to the military and the NTIA to identify, I forget how many hundreds of megahertz of spectrum that they could make available for commercial purposes. And so that's part of where this is coming from.
I think the other thing is it probably have to be done at the ARRL level and then redistributed lower. I don't imagine that, us as a group, maybe Bob Cutter could comment on that, would have any success in trying to get reimbursement directly from the government. Any comments, Bob?
No, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's something to have to do with a snowball located somewhere. I don't recall how that goes.
Yeah, so I mean, even the ARRL may not have the ability to do it, I guess.
I do have a question on a little bit different topic, Kevin, when they get a break here.
Go ahead.
Well, assume that this system is installed as we've got it there, and we have a failure of the internet, either in a portion or the entire area. What effect, if any, will that have on the operation of the repeater system?
Well, the voting system will not be connected to the internet. It will be a standalone private network. It will not be part of the internet.
So as a practical matter, can we say that would not disrupt the service as far as the system is concerned?
Well, there are some single points of failure, and the RTCMs have a fail-soft feature in them that if the network goes down, the repeater goes into a basic repeater function. So we'll still have 8.8 function as a repeater. It'll only just have the one receiver on Sunlight.
So it would revert back to basically what we have here if we have this catastrophic failure.
Right, and I don't know if you've listened to 8.5 up on Sunlight. This is the same system that Colorado Connection is using. And when they first put the microwave in last September, when you and I were up there, they couldn't get the link to work from Castle over to Upper Dowd. And the 8.5 repeater on Sunlight was functioning in a standalone mode to where every 10 minutes you'd hear the thing ID. And that just meant that it was in local mode only.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
But Kevin, one thing I don't know, they probably wouldn't get much for it, but there is the commercial, the WISP folks, the wireless internet providers have a licensed spectrum at like 3.6, and the equipment we bought should cover that. So there might be maybe some used market out there where we could have a slight chance of recouping a little bit out of that. So that might be something to keep in mind.
That's a good thought.
I think the other thing that occurs following on from what Bob Cutter was just saying, that, it looks like our network is sort of pretty handy for under emergency conditions. And given that we've got these search and rescue people becoming hams in order to be able to communicate under emergency situations, I think we've got a pretty good argument, I would have thought. But as Bob Cutter says, I wonder how many other radio clubs are having the same issue, and do we need a sort of a class action on this, I wonder? What did Bob Cutter think about that?
Well, I've been invited to join several class actions through my investment activities over the years, and I have yet to receive a penny from any of those class actions. So my feeling is good luck.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking so much from a legal point of view, but from a publicity point of view, that given that, we have our field days and all these things which are sort of rehearsing for emergency situations. And certainly here in Florida, the club I joined here are extremely active. And, obviously they've got all these hurricanes and things here. But I just wonder if we've got a good argument. The other question I had was, if we get these other frequencies to use for the microwave, what is our right of tenure? Do they give it to us for so many years, or is it just secondary to take away whenever they feel like it?
No,
I think it's secondary. I think it's secondary always, Richard. We can't expect it. We just don't have that much clout, and that's much justification when you're going against telecommunications and the military. You're not going to get any consideration, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another band, the 2.4 gig C band, or 2.5 gig C band, is currently going through another shift, and that's changing all the C-band satellite dishes, and going away from all that frequency and repacking all that. So it's the cell guys are definitely taking over the spectrum.
Hey Kevin, I have a question on the build out. Can that be done segment by location by location? And activated, or do we have to have all the sites with the equipment in them before it can be activated?
Well, I suppose you could do it link by link, but you're better off just to get it all behind you.
Well, what I was thinking about was Lookout with your reservations out there at that, if we could test that in any way to see if there were issues before we, found out that in the end that was, not possible.
No, I'm still in favor of just getting it done, and you know, the way it works is the way it works.
Okay. How much
I
help
just
you gonna
wonder,
need?
I just wonder whether it's worth going up there with a spectrum analyzer and having a look and see what nasties there are on the air, you know?
I think you may be afraid of what you'd see, Richard.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Kevin, what's the timeline? You were speaking about build out. What's the timeline?
Well, the timeline was 2 years ago. So here we are at the end of 2020. You know, it's hopeful that we can make all this stuff fall into place next summer. But I think it finally gets somebody just digging in their heels like Bob did with Anvil Points. He said, you know, it's time that we quit putting this stuff off. And he corralled the resources and everybody stopped what they were doing and we went up and did it.
Right. Sounds good.
So you
So
see this?
are we ready to do that with this microwave system then?
I think so. I think we need a leader like Bob Ludke again.
Watch out. I'm taking down names, Kevin, for you.
Well, Bob, you've seen all that stuff staged in my big garage there for Iron Mountain.
Yeah.
And you've seen that 7-foot rack that was in front of your motorhome. I mean,
Yeah.
It's been there for too long. Kind of like the batteries that were in front of your motorhome.
Yeah.
So does it have to be done in a summer climate or can you do it in the winter?
Well, it's my understanding they keep the road plowed, but I don't know. I don't know if it's something we want to be doing in the winter versus early spring, perhaps.
The road is better frozen in the winter.
Yeah.
In the spring,
Yeah.
it gets pretty soft.
Yeah, that's a muddy road, as I remember.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take heed.
Okay, no, you just need to start nagging a little bit down the road.
I think all the people that worked on Anvil Points, which you'll get to see here in a few minutes, it turned out to probably be our nicest site that we have right now, and have, you know, it's totally solar, first class equipment, and you'll see a little bit of this now. So if we go through and do the same kind of approach for our for the linking stuff for the voting receivers, that it'll work. We can do that. Let's plan on doing it as soon as we can. That's my comment.
Well, Clark, with that, why don't we move on to Bob then?
Okay, just give me a second here. I got one more question for Bob. In my repeater up in Marble, I'm totally solar. Is the toughest load the minimum sunlight of the day? I mean, like, am I at a point now where when we get past the Christmas, let's say, does it get easier for the solar system typically to keep it charged?
You know what you'd have to tell me is what angle those solar panels are mounted at to understand whether that's true or not. Or secondarily, we have Chuck still here. I guess if we had do we have any way, Chuck, that we could measure that stuff? I know we can bring, for those of you who don't know, Chuck set up a nice system so anybody here can look and see how the panels and batteries are being monitored up at Anvil Points. And is that a hard concept to set up and do, like for Clark's, because he's kind of remote?
No, we could do that pretty easily, you know, just put an APR station up there. The biggest issue would be just the extra equipment and stuff. Yeah, typically my experience is once we get through New Year's, you know, the days are starting to get longer, and typically you get more sunshine, you know, blue sky days where it's not as cloudy. I don't know, this year the weather doesn't seem to be following the normal pattern. And a lot of it just really depends, you know, like last week I actually took some time to look, and several of my little APR sites had been down for a couple of days there, and then but all it took was one good day, you know, to get the snow off the panels and get a good day of charging, and things came right back. So a lot of it depends on how you have things sized and such also, but you know, it should do nothing but improve from here on out. But it, you know, a week-long good snowstorm puts a little bit of snow on the panels that doesn't melt off will have a big impact.
Okay, well, you can see that Kevin, I think, brought up that picture, or maybe Chuck did. I don't know who brought that up.
It was Kevin.
Okay, that's anybody can bring that up, and I think maybe even in that little news blurb we gave you there. If not, I've sent that kind of information out to the search and rescue guys, so you know they understand how serious we are about what we're doing here. What else? I had one other question for Chuck. Anyway, what do we need to do, Chuck? That's what it was. What sites? I know you have tons of sites from, you know, Utah to wherever, but what sites of ours do you have APRS set up at?
So right now, all 3 sites have got APRS running. We've got a digipeater up there at Snowmass. We've got the iGate, which is gating things, actually putting the information onto the internet, up at Sunlight, which unfortunately is down right now because the router at Dave's house acted up after the power outage earlier this week. And then the Anvil Points has got a digipeater also. So all 3 of those have got one. And I also have one in Gunnison County's building up there on McClure Pass, so that would be the one that would actually hear, you know, like the Marble site and relay the information from that.
So where is that, at McClure Pass?
Yeah.
Is it right?
That's that tower or whatever it is. It's right at the pass, and you see from the highway.
No.
No.
It's this one's several miles back in along the ridge. The county has a site back there on Forest Service land.
So it's up on Huntsman's Ridge, you're saying?
Nope, opposite direction. It's to the south, not to the north.
So is that where the private property is?
Yeah, it's, you actually go through the gate for the private property, but it's still on Forest Service where it's at.
Okay.
So it's kind of by Chair Mountain then.
What's that?
Chair Mountain?
Yeah, it's towards Chair Mountain. It's up there right before you get to the private land.
So
there's a little subdivision up there called the Raggeds, and it's just off that road.
Huh, okay.
Cool.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I just, there is another issue coming up here, and I don't know if it's going to affect Anvil or not or what, but David, I can't think of his name, maybe Ken, KB0HP, can you help me?
It's Dave Bowers.
Dave Bowers. Okay, W4FMJ, I think is his call. He was instrumental in getting us those 10 solar panels from ExxonMobil. He said, he gave me a call, and I haven't heard back from him because we're kind of playing phone tag. But the initial message that I got from him, he said that ExxonMobil is pulling out of Garfield County, as I understand, out of Anvil Points specifically.
I think he said Colorado. Yeah, all the whole state.
Is that true? Is that true?
That's what, when I visited with him first, that's what he told us.
Okay, so that's how I got to talk to him, huh? And anyway, so what did he tell you, Ken? Because that's all he mentioned to me was that Anvil was, you know.
Well, he was trying to, wanted to let us know that they would like to make sure that we have access to that and kind of formalize, I think, that access. And then also he wanted to make it so we could come up from, and I don't know the proper name, but they're over there, that other access to the south, I mean, to the west.
To the tunnel.
Yes, and he wanted to make that an access for that. Anytime we needed to go up there, we could go through there, and instead of having to go up JQS or Cattle Creek. So he mentioned that. He also mentioned that he had a couple of other towers that he wanted to make available to us if we ever wanted to expand our area.
So Ken, do you know, are they like selling that off to a different company, or are they just not going to be operating and still hold the property?
He did not mention that, but it sounded like they were holding the property. I mean, he didn't specifically say that, but that's the gist that I got.
It's probably being negotiated now is what I'd guess. Bob, do you have, Cutter, do you have any comments on that?
No.
Unmute.
Well, I think ExxonMobil is certainly in a position to give us a license to use their tunnel and their right of way through that way. That would probably end up in the chain of title, and whether they sold it or not, we probably would be protected. It would certainly be more than we have now, which is basically nothing other than a key, maybe. This would be a better arrangement, I think, all the way around.
If he contacts us again, or I will contact him, are you willing to work on a negotiation for that?
Oh, sure, but you know, I'm kind of out of touch, and so you know, for what it's worth, but I'm willing to help.
Okay, well, you're certainly the person I'd prefer him to talk to than me or Ken. I mean, legal wise, it sounds like that's what he's trying to do for us, which I think is really
well. Let's back up on that. Nothing throws cold water on things more effectively than bringing a lawyer into the thing at this stage. I would suggest you just keep going the way you are. When we get around to something in writing or spelling it out, then I'll take a look at it. But
fair enough. Yeah, that's good.
Let's not get another person in there, because he's probably skating on the edge, doing what he's doing anyway, and so there's no sense of bringing the legal profession into and just cloudy the things up. I would look at it when it gets more nailed down and see if there's any real problems to it.
Okay, sounds really good. Okay, I agree.
It would surprise me if they got sort of towers they're getting rid of, if something like American Towers didn't want to buy them up for cellular or something, you know, even just as something to put one side in case, you know.
The sites that they've got are scattered along up there on the Rhone, and they're fairly far back in to where they really don't do much as far as any place where there's any population. So there's not going to be a high interest
That's a good
by
one. That's a good
majority of the folks.
He did mention, you know, those back on the flat tops. Then he also mentioned Grand Mesa.
Right.
Huh.
Well, it certainly would be worth taking a look at and see what he's talking about, because who knows what the future holds in that regard.
Okay. Any other comments on that before I show my pictures? Okay, here we go. Let's see.
We'll give Kevin a hand first.
Yeah. Let me see if I can do this here. I don't want that. I don't want that.
No,
No, don't want that.
it's not here.
Minimize that. Okay, now why do I have this up? I don't think I want that up. Here we go. Okay. Are you seeing a picture right now or not?
No.
No?
Sharing.
Huh?
You didn't hit screen
Yes, yes, I did. Oh, maybe I didn't. Let me minimize that. Okay. Minimize that. Here we are. Okay. see if this works. Okay, how about that?
Yes.
Okay, so we did 2 trips up here in August and September to Anvil Points. And essentially, this is our first trip up there. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Anvil Points, it's outside of Rifle. It's west of Rifle. You go up the highway, turn in on a horrendously terrible road. It takes about, I don't know, an hour and a half to 2 hours to drive up, okay? And it's 10 miles. It's nothing at all, or 8 miles. But the road is just really terrible. What? Oh, no, it's there. Anyway, so this is it. In the life of COVID, this is the first trip up. You head down the highway. Can you see my cursor on the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. This is the area we're going to. It's called Anvil Points. It's because the rock formations look like an anvil, so aptly named. There used to be a road from the bottom to the top this way. I don't honestly know when that road was closed down, but this is leaving Ken's house up in Rifle, and that's where we're headed for. So we're coming down here, heading up the highway, and you zigzag your way up here on a road. Fortunately, I think in our 2 trips, we only had 2 places where it scared the bejesus out of me trying to pass a big full-length pickup truck, a dually coming down. And it's just not a fun road to drive. And you're looking at 2 hours plus of driving, and you got to pay attention the entire time. Okay, so I'm going to go along here. This is what the road starts out to look like. And this is actually, in terms of bumps and dips and stuff, it's terribly rutted, horrible shape. You can see. And as you go up higher, it gets a little narrower, not much place to pass somebody, okay? You got to back up or go. So on the top, now you're at the top, about 9,000 plus feet. The views are absolutely stunning. So what we're going to be doing now, you can see Ken's Jeep here. We're going to go out here and then turn right, and it's another 35, 40 minutes once you get to the top to get to the site. So it's not a site anybody wants to ever visit. We hadn't been up there other than Jim Legg 80LI maintained our batteries up there for us twice a year, and Phil would hop on and go with him up there, and they do it. There's there's a lock gate and that kind of stuff on the top. But that's our tower up there in our building. So now we're going to come around the side of the mountain to get in there. This is what the site looks like. It's a ratty old building. If you look at it, it's we painted it 2 years ago, I believe. Susie and Betty were the painters on the building. The roof needs repair. This is our old solar panel configuration that was set up. Here's our link that gets us via APRS and I don't know frequencies. Chuck, what's the frequency of this?
Well, that panel antenna is the microwave antenna, so that's your 3.5 gigahertz.
3.5, okay.
Right.
So at any rate, that's what the site looks like. Very small building, kind of a one-person operation. And anyway, that's where we are. And what we ended up doing was we had 10 panels that we got from ExxonMobil. So these 2 panels didn't match. So what we did was, when I was up there, I took these 2 panels down and put them in my Jeep, which they fit, and I was going to take those over to Clark. Little did I know that I was going to see Clark that same day after dark, but I did. So he could use these 2 panels on his site there for a little additional solar gain at Bill Kelly's place where he has his marble site. Okay, so that's what it looked like. None of these panels were hooked up in 2 years. We went up 2 years ago and built this facility, this structure to hold the panels and face them in the right direction and all that. And that was our situation. We never had done any work because we couldn't get the work parties together. That's what the input looks like. Kind of looks kind of nasty, but it works fine. You know, it worked all the way through the winter there. Wasn't a problem. Those are our antennas. So you can see the assortment of antennas we have up there. I'm not sure what that corner or what this beam's for. 450, I guess. Is that it, Chuck?
Yeah, I think so. From the bottom, you've got the panel antenna, the one you're over.
Yeah. Okay, that one.
Right above it, you've got the, I believe that's the 8.8 receive antenna.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, the repeater antenna. It's the dual band 147 and the, I'm not sure if the link back to Sunlight's either on the Yagi above it or it's on the dual band part of that white antenna. The one that's right to the immediate to the left of the Yagi sticking out there is a leftover 220 antenna from when Eric Ashworth was around and had his stuff up there. So that's a leftover from that. And then that top antenna is the APERS antenna.
Okay.
And then we've got tower above it because it's a fairly lightning prone site. So we didn't want to have any of the antennas off the top of the tower.
Yeah. And in the previous picture, if you look, you can see the copper. You can't tell it's copper at this point, but this is to shed the static, do some static discharge, right? Is that right, Chuck?
Yeah, that's the bonding, the earth ground tie. So everything goes through. There's a copper ground plate to the left there, and that's an aluminum plate that those are tied to, and everything goes through that with polyphasers. So it's fairly well grounded, and there's a fairly extensive amount of copper in the ground up there.
Okay. Well, we probably should take these panels down, I'd imagine, but that'd probably be a smart thing to do. And then we have to redo the roof if we do that. So, I guess that's it. Do you have any other comments on that part of it? I'm going to go inside the building now, Chuck.
I just had a quick question. How did the panels and that mounting bracket that we built 2 years ago hold up? Was everything still good and tight and it held up fine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, the mechanical structure was first class. Yeah, that worked fine. And we'll show you some things here. So this is how it was left 2 years ago. Okay. Wires hanging down. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know about these boxes, how they worked and how to integrate those into our system. And in the end, Kevin sat down this part of the deal that when Ken and myself, Jim Legg, and Susie and Betty, when 6 or 7 of us went up there. Who else was in there? Can you remember, Ken?
I think you.
Everybody. Dave came up the second time. KD6, yeah, Dave Ron, KD6 WQJ.
WQC.
Okay. So anyway, we did measurements for Kevin, and Ken went in and did all this kind of stuff, looked at what was in the boxes, found them on the website, and we gave as much information as we could to Kevin so that we could build out the cabling system for this. We weren't sure how we were going to do it. And I'll show you how it ended up in the end, and Kevin can comment on that. Okay, so here's one of the anvils in Anvil Points, okay? So that's off to the east from where our site is. So it's a really awesome site. I-70's down here, okay? So that gives you some idea what's going on. It is a neat site. There we are. I don't know what Ken's down there probably doing the measuring for this stuff. We're trying to see what's going on inside the building. Here's what you have inside the building. Those are the repeater systems and the duplexers. Here's the APRS stuff. So this is how we get our voltage measurements down. So Clark, we could put in APRS, you know, in your site too, and measure that voltage that you were thinking about. So maybe we could try doing that, Clark. I don't know.
Someone else.
Hold it, Bob.
Yeah.
We have an interruption.
Okay.
You'll need to reshare.
Okay. Okay. Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. So that's it. That's some more shots. There's Ken's Jeep going. You go up and down a little bit. We did have some oncoming traffic, but not much. And now we're, this is the second trip, okay? So we went down that time. So this is our second trip up. There's Dave Ron. Close to the top, not quite. You need a break every once in a while. That gives you a little idea about how much fun it is driving up. And like I said, the scenery is just spectacular up there.
So where do those people who are coming the other way coming from, Bob?
They were coming down. There's hunting camp. There's a lot of hunting up there. And this was during, the second one was definitely.
Somebody keeps trying to share the screen with us.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Who is this?
Okay, so here we go. Continue on here. Proceed at your own risk. There's Jim's hot rod. I don't know. What year is that, Ken?
I think it's 72 maybe.
Yeah, he goes. He go up there twice a year. He's been steadfast in maintaining some old batteries that came out of N0AFO. If you're still here, Frank, out of his golf carts or RV. I'm not sure the source of those, but anyway. Okay, those are the two panels we took down. And that other picture I had was out of order there. So we'll go through. Now we're moving this panel over to here. So we have 8 panels to do our design, more duplexers, more equipment. There's our what our batteries looked like. Pretty sad, huh? We had, these batteries had to be watered, okay? And you can see that they boiled over. You can see our power, our voltage was 0 because the batteries had died. These were sealed batteries, but not enough to keep going. So what we ended up trying to do, okay, this is our old solar charge controller, lightning protection, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong on some of this stuff, Chuck. I think.
No, you're correct.
That's it, okay. Here's the power coming in. So let's see, APRS again, 144.9, back of the panels, TNC. Oh, I know. I had some of these. We got it to charge. What we did was we backed up Ken's Jeep, and we didn't have a generator the first trip up. So what we did was we started charging the batteries just with jumper cables. We took 2 of the batteries out of line, the ones that were badly leaking up there, and one was actually shorted, and that's what was bringing down the voltage. And we got everything up and working again. But little did we know it had only worked for a half a day or something till the next morning. And that was the end of that. So anyway, we came down. Now, this coming down was the exciting part. You remember the South Canyon fire this summer in August? Well, Susie and I came down. We followed Betty and Ken down. We got down, and all of a sudden we heard there was a fire and I-70 was closed. So how do you get to Glenwood Springs, okay, when I-70 is closed? Well, we sat around till about 5 or 6 o'clock, I guess 5 o'clock. We had a burger over at Arby's, or beef burger at Arby's, and we decided about 5 o'clock that it just wasn't going to work. They weren't going to open it. We had no place to, where do you go when there's COVID, right? No place to go. So we decided the only way we thought we could get home was to head up the road past Phil's house, south of Silt, take the back roads over to south of McClure Pass, where the Muddy River comes out, and then hit McClure Pass, and then go down towards Glenwood again, right? Well, we started out, we got into unknown territory because we didn't have any good maps. A couple of places we could hit the repeater. We ended up at the top of some pass down there, which was in Grand Mesa National Forest jurisdiction, on his dirt road. All these was terrible 4-lane or two 4-wheel drive roads. Anyway, we got there. There was a guy at the top, and he was. I asked him, well, if I take this road, am I going to be able to get to McClure Pass? And he said, yeah, go down to the intersection. If you go to the right, you go to Vega Reservoir. If you go to the left, you get to McClure Pass. So Sue and I hopped back in a Jeep, and he said, oh, just let me tell you something. He said, by that time we were an hour and a half driving, okay, on this dirt road. He said, just remember that every person that works in Aspen, okay, is going home to Newcastle, Silt, or Rifle, and you're going to pass cars going the opposite direction all the way. So we took off. We got down to this one intersection, and we passed. I wish I had this. I had a little video. I should have added that. We passed 500 cars and trucks, okay, on this 4-wheel drive road, 2-lane road, 1-lane road. It was unbelievable. But the problem was cars going the other way, coming towards us, could not pass. If there was a slow vehicle, there were 30 cars behind that slow vehicle because there's no way you could pass. So we'd pass 30, 40 cars in strings, okay? And we made it, got over to there, got over to Clark's house. I don't know, about 8, something like that, Clark? I don't know. And we dropped off his 2 solar panels, seeing we had those. Then the next thing we did was we proceeded home. Well, I-70 was closed, and Glenwood Springs was in total lockup. So I'll show you, that's my next picture. This picture you're looking at are taillights of cars and trucks, okay? Looking down from my house after we got home. This is West Glenwood right here, okay? The interstate. So you can see cars coming from this way, cars coming from this way. Nobody's moving. This is Lowe's. This is the Lowe's Target area. And it was incredible. And I couldn't get a picture of 6 and 24. That was down in front of our house, and that was the same way. So it was a beautiful scene, but nobody moved. It took us 2 hours to go from McDonald's to our house. Anyway, I'll speed this up a little. Second trip, okay? Kevin's got everything packed up here, ready to go up to the site. There's our batteries all neatly in place, strapped down and everything. You probably remember the story I was telling you about the terrible road. Well, it wasn't more than a half mile up the road that all the batteries got out of the strapping and were tipping over, which doesn't matter. And we had to totally rearrange the load going up. So got it all set up. Then the problem was we had to get in, and the overgrowth was just absolutely incredible. And Dave Rand came up mainly to help us clear the road to get to our tower, which is back in here. So he had a generator, he had his cutting stuff. Betty and Susie both had their weed cutters. So here's what the ladies did for us. And here's Dave's Jeep up here with the electric equipment. they cleared the road all the way. And the last picture I'll show after we get back to the installation will be neat. So here's how much these batteries weigh, Kevin?
135 each.
Okay. I don't know if this is 80Li, our battery water in the past. You won't have to do it anymore with these batteries, but he's also a weightlifter.
Yeah.
So Kevin, okay, lift these batteries and put them in the shack. So that was part of it. Now, this is the old picture that I showed you from the first trip, okay? So Jim had gone up the day before. He made another trip up there, gone up there the day before, and that's what our battery system looks like now. What do we have? How many amp hours? 640 or something?
Total of 800 ampere hours. Each one is 200 ampere hours.
100? Oh, okay. So that's our system, okay? There's Susan and Betty painting the building, okay? And you can see somebody working here starting to wire up these panels. We had all pre-cut wires. We had a harness system designed for us by, who was that, Kevin? We should give the guy credit.
Well, all they did was offer what they had in stock. I think I'd have to say that I did the design.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. You did design, and then brought these up, and we had to install them. We got some more pictures of that. And then Kevin, we took this part of the installation down and replaced it with this. So we have a larger charge controller, breaking out each of these solar panels. Tell me about this, Kevin? I got a better picture, and then I'll let Kevin describe. Here we all are. We had three, four guys walking down to do all the installation here, and we got it done. This is the final stretch after we had this all wired. This brought in the power into the building through a conduit, and that's the final front side of it. So Kevin, let's see, I got two pictures here. You want to tell us about this one? You're muted. You're still muted.
You got to be on the right screen when you push the key bar. The blue gizmo is a lightning arrestor. You're not seeing a whole lot else there, so go to another slide.
Okay, I think that's going. Is that better?
Well, that's the power up mode. You'll notice I have safety glasses on at that point. Batteries and DC voltages can be dangerous, so don't ever take this stuff for granted.
Well, tell them how you designed the power.
Well, just go ahead and keep going to these pictures. I can bring up some drawings later.
Okay. Okay, we're not coming in with just 12 volts. Okay, you can see the input voltage here is 81 volts from the panel. So obviously they were series and parallel. How about that? Is that a?
Yeah, that's a good one. This is the 12 volt panel. On the right hand side are where the 4 batteries connect onto a buswork there. And then the fuse on the left of that feed down to a thing with a little blue LED on it. That's a low voltage disconnect.
Oh, okay.
And then over to the left side panel is going to be our DC loads, of which we didn't have a whole lot there.
Okay. And what can we handle with the Flex Max there?
I'd have to look it up, but it's way more than we could ever use.
Okay. Okay, and then I'll let Sean. So anyway, It was a successful day. Believe it or not, I left Glenwood Springs and it was dark. We came back in the dark too. Unfortunately, it didn't take a 5-hour drive to get home the second time. Thank goodness. But that's just before we were about to leave. So we had a picture there and we just swapped me and Susie there so she could take a picture. And that's the road that Dave and the ladies cleaned. That was amazing. So you can actually drive up to the building now. So, oops, that's my my kitty cat in the backyard. Okay, Kevin, you want to show some pictures and share it?
Give me just a second here.
Okay. No.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, anyway, that was the contribution that the group made to go up there, and it's you can probably see why people don't like going up there.
That's kind of an eye chart, but this was the best way I could figure out how to do all these. And kind of starts over at the solar panels themselves. We had to, the guys out in the field there, they were doing about 4 hours worth of wiring all these panels, putting them in series and parallel. And then you got 2 strings of 80 volts each going into the building. Then when it gets back into the building, it first lands in a 80 volt panel, goes through the flex charge controller there, and then on over to the 12 volt DC panels, and the batteries are connected into that.
Okay, anything else? Otherwise, I think I'm done, Clark, and you can take over.
Very impressive, very nice.
It's a beautiful site. I mean, you can tell, the building is the weak point and the roof on the building, but the equipment is now first class. And I suspect we, other than to bring the new system online and bring up the microwave stuff there, that'll be the trip next or this summer to do that. And other than that, I think this site should stay up many years by itself. So,
Chris has a question.
I think we need to get the club to buy a helicopter.
Go ahead, Chris.
Excellent suggestion.
I got on mute. Unmute, Chris. There you
go. Kevin, what make of DC breakers are you running there?
They're all DC rated fuses. I'd have to look up the manufacturer, but they're 1,000 volt DC fuses. And there's the fuse holders are rated for, dead front sort of usage. You're not going to get shocked or anything, but they do caution you, do not pull those fuses under load.
Big spark.
Okay, are you familiar with the Dayton brand of DC breakers with various current ratings? It's a switch plus a breaker in there.
I've probably seen them. We in our microwave sites and yours too, I imagine, used a lot of Heinemann breakers, and square DQO breakers are rated up to 60 volt DC, as I recall.
All right, thanks for the details.
While we're here for just a second, if we do end up securing our access to Anvil long term, we might want to consider improving our building. And this is what I stopped and looked at. A company down in Del Norte that acquires a bunch of these things and stores them. They're fairly reasonable. They're only like $1,500 or so. But something like this is rodent tight. We might consider doing something like that. I think I have another picture here of a similar installation. Assuming we end up with a secure location, something like this Might be just the ticket for us.
Can you get them there in a pickup truck?
Well, that's a question. I think we could haul them up on a trailer.
No.
A
If
good
you go in-
flatbed trailer, then just drag it off of the trailer.
I think if you go in the long way, you're not going to do that going up probably the front side of Anvil Points. There is a secondary access way to get up there that takes even an hour longer than the way we went up. Or yeah, maybe Susie suggested maybe if we get access to that tunnel there, maybe, I don't know. Whatever.
It looks a bit like those ship's containers. I know when I did the cellular system in Mauritius, all the base stations were actually in ship's containers tucked underneath the towers.
Huh.
Probably get a ship's container quite cheap.
Kevin, can you hear me? Is that road you're talking about? I think when I went up there 2 years ago, when we originally built, the last time I was up there was 2 years ago when we originally built the structure for the solar panels. And I think I was with you and we drove out the north end.
Yeah, that was the Peons Creek access.
Yeah, that road wasn't bad there, I didn't think.
No, you could get probably any vehicle you wanted that way. It's just another
long way.
hard day.
Yeah, it's a long, hard day to do that way, but it would work.
Is that any way associated with the JQS trail? Because I remember a field day a long time ago. We went up that way and there was another way out as well.
That's it. You got it, Clark.
I do remember the ride up. And that old 78 Jeep station wagon of mine just loved to have a overheated gas tank in it. Just about blew off half a tank of gas out the gas cap when I opened it up to see if it was under pressure. It was incredible. I don't recommend those old Jeeps at all. All right, I think we're done with that. But looking at the agenda, I think Jess was scheduled to have something here on his All-Star node. Am I correct in that, Jess?
Yeah, I don't have much to report. We are putting together an all-star node for the Aspen area, and we got the equipment, and Kevin just did a beautiful job of putting the equipment together, the Raspberry Pi, the Linko radio, and all the other information there. And then Bob, myself, let's see, who else was in there? Kevin, Pete, and Eric, and Steve, we all got together on a Zoom session and tested it out. We had communication to transmit from this QTH, and I couldn't receive through my handheld. So we said, and Frank wisely said that we should start with the simplest and move to the complex to try to figure out what was going on. So Pete was kind enough to send us a new image. So we'll put the new image in, and that's kind of where we are. So Bob or Frank or anybody else who worked with us can add in.
Why don't you go, Frank, why don't you take it?
You have to unmute. There you go.
Okay. So was there a question, or I didn't catch
Just any comments where we kind of left things and.
Oh, up in the air, I think is where we left them. Yeah, I think, we're on the right track here. I dug into the rim light interface and was looking at the schematic just to learn what I could learn, because I'd never put one of those on a Linko before. I think Bob's the only one with experience on that. And what I noticed down in the bottom was that they had some recommended simple USB settings. So we want to make sure that once we get the Raspberry Pi up and going, that it has those settings. And I believe what Pete did is that he actually, the image that he sent to Jess has those settings in it as a default. So, but the first thing is, you know, is the Olinko working the way it should? Can you transmit it with it on the microphone and receive on it and so forth? And then we'll just work our way backwards. It's my suspicion is that it's those rim light settings, because it kind of worked half duplex or half simplex. People could receive, but they couldn't transmit. So that's about all I have to add to it. If anybody needs any help along the way, pull my chain and I'll help you out.
It was, the wheel has already been invented, so I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. However, I will say that going through this process, and this is one of the things that I personally wanted to do, it really gives you a good appreciation for what goes into the system. And many times we just pick up our handheld or our microphone and talk, and we really don't go through maybe as much as we should. So this was a wonderful learning experience for myself. And Bob, I was following K9 Mike Whiskey Mike. I was following some of what he did and what Clark did. And I really encourage you to set up a system if you want to learn about it. So that was good. I think we'll be ready to install this up at Shelton's place either probably right after Christmas, after things slow down. So I know, Steve, you were really instrumental and interested in, I don't know if you had any comments about putting it up at Shelton's and what kind of coverage you think we'll have over in the Aspen area. So Steve, if you will.
No, I just wanted to comment how interesting it was to watch 6 guys who are all experts all work together for over 2 hours to get that, just to transmit, well, just to receive without the transmitting. It was really interesting to watch. I don't know. I think Sheldon's places, it points right down from Smuggler Mountain all the way to Basalt probably. So it's a good location. And if it doesn't work, we'll put it here on my roof.
Well, that's kind of, it's not a very sexy report, but that's kind of an update on where we were. And then one more thing, Brian, if you and I could talk about what we did with the DMR in a second, because that was kind of interesting. But any questions on what's happening with the Aspen All Star node? That's kind of where we are. Okay, so I'll leave that. And then along the same line, Brian and I were talking, and we were trying to use DMR to get into the 88. And we were able to get into DMR and talk to each other on our club's talk group, the DMR talk group, which is 31085, I believe it is. And Brian and I were able to talk with each other, but couldn't hit the repeater. So I think Pete reset the repeater. I don't know. We haven't tried it again. Brian, your comments or thoughts?
Yes, I spoke to Pete the next day, and anyway, told me exactly what the problem was, and he said that probably that he would have to reset the node there that was in Vail. So I guess I don't know if he could do it remotely or how that worked.
Okay. Well, it was interesting because the people who are out of the area usually use Echolink to get on. And I guess we never really mentioned that there's another way to get on to the repeaters through the talk group and DMR. And so we'll have a little experiment on getting on through DMR at another time. So that's kind of where we stand on some of that digital stuff. So Clark, I'll give it back to you. And if there's any comment, question, otherwise back to you, Clark.
Hey, Jess, that's great, a great report. I one thing I did learn when I was doing the marble repeater is you can test the communications just using your transceivers and communicate back and forth. Pam and I did that here where she was in the house and I was up in Marble. And that way I figured out what the UHF reflection pattern looked like. And it turns out that although the angle of reflection off of Chair Mountain's got to be like, it makes like a right angle turn actually to get down to Placida. But you can wobble the beam around quite a bit, like 20 degrees, and still have a pretty good maximum on communications. So you can do all that with just the transceivers. You don't have to have all the other stuff there and support. Real tough time comes when you try to, in my case, because you're not going to have to do this, but if you want to optimize it, you're going to have 2 or 3 people and communications back and forth as you swing the antennas, because trying to get 2 beams to point directly at each other properly with a mountain in between you bounce off of is a complex geometric pattern, I find. All right, so next, let's see, we got, Gerry, N6HUQ. You've got some pictures, so I think we'll just put you up. Get yourself off of mute and go for it.
I'm on mute now. You know, we've been on here for an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm not sure how well mine's going to work out because I've never had any practice at this. So would you rather bypass me and do it next month or so? I don't know. It's up to you. I can try.
Gerry, let's try, and if it doesn't work and you're having trouble, we'll just put it off to the next time. I don't think we're in a...
Okay, I've only got about a dozen pictures. It's not, it shouldn't take that long. So we can give it a shot here. Let's see what happens. I got with Jess this morning, and he told me I have to press this share screen. So now I've got something in front of me. And let's see what happens here. Okay, do you see what I've got there?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's see if I can rotate through them. This is a front view of the repeater at Snowmass. The front side of the rack there. This is the link controller, which I had sitting in my on my bench here from about February until September because couldn't get back up there because we were having problems with the power on it. As some of you probably remember, the power would only stay on for about a week and then the controller would shut down. So I had to rewire the power connector into the thing. I got tired of slipping a sliver of a toothpick under the power connector to make it turn back on. And I brought it down in February there, and then 2 days later, they shut down the whole ski area. So I couldn't get back up there to take it back up. So it just sat on my workbench there for all those months. And then we finally got it back up. If you look here, this is this stuff up here is a aircraft beacon, emergency beacon.
You're frozen, Gerry.
I'll refrain from making jokes.
which is connected. I don't think it's really connected in here in the transmitter. And the big power amplifier, which we have several up on top spares. So let's see if I can rotate through these. This is the link, the transceiver. I'm sorry, this is the controller right here. And then, whoops, as I say, this up here was a close-up of the top of the system there with the aircraft ELT there. This is a backside view of the controller down here, and the power connections up here on top. Another view of the controller, and this was the little power connector, these cheapy little coax power connectors that was giving us so much trouble. And so unfortunately, I couldn't get the picture there that I have somewhere here of what I did afterwards, where I put the power connection in here on this panel over to the right and used a better quality connector there, one that I got from Kevin. And this is outside there at Snowmass. If you've never been up there, this big long pole here, about 6 feet long, is the 2 meter 2 meter antenna for 6.7 there. And then these other little ground planes are the 440 are a couple of other 440 connector antennas, I believe, one of which I think is being used. I don't think one of them is being used. The link is actually underneath the outside deck there and shoots through over to sunlight through about 40 feet of snow this time of year, but it seems to work. So we've never done anything with it. And here's another picture of a couple of grubby guys at field day. You can probably recognize Clark and his son here in a tent up at the top of, when I went up and visited them there at the top of McClure Pass. And the rest of these pictures are of sunlight. This is looking in the door at the sunlight repeater site. And this is all our equipment in there. I think this is the controller we have up there, I believe. And I believe this is our repeater over here. And I'm not sure what some of these power supplies down here. So that's one shot of it. This is the two duplexers that we have there for 2 meters and 440 over in behind. This is 2 meters, of course, and this one down here is 440. It's a little blurry, but this is the back side of the thing. We were up there, I went up there with Sheldon. This is the antenna connections that Chuck did a very nice job of installing all this stuff and all the polyphase lightning arresters on there and all, where it goes out to the tower. So anyway, that's about all the pictures I've got, I think, here. I'm hoping I can get some better pictures that Sheldon took up there when we went up there in September. The reason we had to go up there was to replace the 2 fans. We replaced the small one, which wasn't working at all. It had burned out the temperature disconnect in the motor when something went wrong with it there. The motor, I think, developed a short. Although the interesting thing is that I got the motor sitting on a bench here and it seems to work if you replace that. But of course, we wouldn't want to use it up there with no attention being paid to it. But that's all the pictures I've got. So I'll get out of this screen share now and get back to you there, Clark. I think this is all the pictures. Yes. Yes, it's all the pictures I have. Okay, Clark, go ahead.
All right, Jerry, thank you. You know, the last couple meetings with the equipment that we've shown and the sites and all that, I think for the majority of our active club members that are attending, get a pretty good idea of the hardware that we're dealing with in these repeaters. So they're not just things that we associate with stuff that's on top of the mountain that we've never visited. Now I feel a lot more familiar with the hardware, especially having done my own repeater system, so at least I know what to look for. But what you just showed us at Snowmass is that particular site's a lot more complex than any of the others that we were talking about today. So there's a lot of stuff up there. It's my impression. Anyway, you know, the next thing we were going to do was I'm supposed to somehow monitor a show and tell of your latest project or new gear. Is there anybody that has gear they want to show and tell now?
W0CTX does.
Okay.
Clark?
Yeah.
I have a quick question though, before people begin to disappear here. I have an Android phone here, which I am showing you right now. It's a Motorola, and Sheldon took a bunch of good pictures, the best pictures, some of the best pictures that I have of the site up at Sunlight, and they're in this phone. And I can't figure out, I thought I was able to download them into the phone itself, but somehow they are in the phone, but they're in my email. They're an email message, and I want to get them out of there, and I can't figure out how to do that. So if anybody's familiar with an Android phone, I'd love to talk with them later and find out. So that's my message.
Gerry,
You.
Just forward the email to yourself and have it on your computer that way, and then copy the pictures from your email.
Forward the email to myself, yeah. Well, it's not really an email, it's a message, which I'm not really familiar with. I don't play with messages, you know.
The text message.
Text messages is what I'm talking about, yeah.
You can copy the pictures from the text message and put them in another spot on your phone so
That's
that you
what I
can
want to
email
do.
them. Yeah.
How many pictures are there, Gerry?
8 or 10, I guess.
Because if you text them to me, I'll email them back.
Well, I'm not sure I know how to send a text message with this because I never do it. I receive a few text messages, but I much prefer to talk to people. So I've just never bothered. We'll figure it out some way or another. Maybe I'll talk with Sue there. She's closer.
Oh, okay. We had someone volunteer, and I think it was Don. However, my screen's moved around a bit. Is that correct, Don? W0CTX or whatever it was?
The show and tell.
You're muted, Don. You're muted.
Hey, I'm working. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're up in Upper Michigan. We left Glenwood around September 8th because we have a new house being built, going slow. That's a different story in its own right. But we're in EN 67 up in Upper Peninsula, just a few miles from Lake Superior, and we'll be here probably through February and then return. So it's great to be on with you guys. And I have a old Atlas 210 here. It's a 5-band solid state transceiver. I won't spend much time here, but I use that quite a bit. I have a 40-meter delta loop strung up in a pine tree, and we're on a lake. And I'm not kidding. I can just, even with 10 watts with my other rig, I can single sideband, I can hit Seattle 599 all the time. It's like I have a conduit wired out there because something to do with the wet ground and in this delta loop. And it tunes up on 20 and everywhere else I'd like to use it at. So so goofing around a little bit. This is a great little rig. It's actually in a carrier that's so you can see it. It's only this big, goes that deep. It's completely solid state, no tune, and it's like 1978. Probably one of the very first solid state rigs out there. So lots of fun to play with. Bought it on eBay, paid about $200. It was like brand new, not even a scratch. You know, just a wonderful little rig. Of course, being an engineer, I tore it apart and then put it back together. And the two tests to see if you did a good job: is there any screws left on the table, and when you shake it, does it rattle? So I did get it back. You know, that's in fact with the CTX10, that's what we tell everybody, the factory guys, give it a shake before you put it in the box, because there could be something loose in there. You know, somebody complain about it, right? So anyway, having a great time. The lake froze 4 days ago. There are people already ice skating on it as yesterday. There's no snow up here. There should be 50 inches on the ground. There's nothing but 2 inches. The lake is solid ice. You could skate and the lake is big. It's like 25 miles end to end and 5 miles across, and empties into Lake Superior on both ends. It's quite a deal, but there's something about being on this lake. And of course it rains all the time. It's just soaking wet. Everything's dripping wet, dreary, just like England, right, Richard?
Yeah, a bit like that.
Yeah, it's just a mess, you know. So anyway, I get out really good, so it doesn't take much power. So anyway, look forward to getting back to Colorado here in a little while, and probably be, I'd say March, really.
Where are you having your house built?
It's in 4 Mile Ranch. It's about 50 feet from a Glenwood Springs water tank. So I don't know if that's going to be a good ground or not, but it's just a mile outside of town, just a few hundred feet higher. And I've got a good clear view, but I'm designing an antenna that's going to be embedded in the roof. And just see how much.
You could presumably bounce off the tank, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do. We'll have to see how well that works there. But
where you go? Try by the fire station.
Okay. What's that?
Hey, Don, I got a question. Where are you in Michigan, more specifically?
Well, it's if you look it up, it's called Dollar Bay, Michigan. The zip code, if you do it that way, is 49922. It's up in the. If you can see my hand here, this is the Upper Peninsula. This is the Keweenaw Peninsula right here.
Yeah.
We're right there. The first joint on the finger. We're surrounded by Lake Superior. That's about 50 miles. It's about 300 across. And so it's, Houghton, Michigan is the biggest one. And we have a little summer place up here. So we've escaped to that. And my wife had a surgery on her knee, and her knee gave out in August out there in Glenwood. We had a surgery. She had a surgery, and it was a repair. And then 3 weeks later, we drove up here, and she's been rehabbing it ever since. She actually has a couple more months of rehab, and it hasn't gone great. So she's working that real hard, and that might determine also when we come back. So, but she's doing fine. She'll get it the rest of the way. They were threatening to do a knee replacement now, and she said no way. So she's going to try to get that thing going good. You know.
So is that Portage Lake you're on?
Yeah, it's Portage Lake. Yeah, that's the name of it. Yeah,
yeah. I had a question about it sounds like the conditions that you have right now with no snow and the ice being frozen. Ice boating, sailboating on runners, whatever you call it.
Yeah, that used to be really common up here about 40, 50 years ago. I went to college up here 50 years ago, and some guys had an ice boat, and usually there's so much snow that it gets on the lake, and you can't do anything. You can snowmobile across it. You can, one of the most fun things, in fact, we heard this weird noise the other day, and it went whoop, like that. And my wife said, "What is that?" And I said, the lake, it's only been frozen 3 days, and it already had a crack going across, and it makes an audio sound. I remember a long time ago in March, before it broke up, it was still solid. You could be standing out there and just white snow, hard pack, and you'd hear a crack emanating across, and it just sounded like a jet going by. you know, like a 5 mile long crack. It wouldn't open up. I mean, it was just a little crack, and we go find it, you know. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, the ice skating is unusual simply because there's no snow.
That's what happens on our pond out here, even though it's only a 900-foot pond. When it freezes and it cracks, middle of the night, it'll set you right up in bed.
Yeah, isn't that something? I'd never realized that before. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, so we're having fun with that stuff, you know.
It's kind of an egg shell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it'll get some space under it, and you know, it heaves and goes. It's enough when the ice breaks up, even on this lake in the spring. It's enough to, if you have a permanent dock, it's enough to pile it up on the shoreline. It'll bend steel right over if you don't handle that right. It's just tremendous forces with the ice. So.
Hey, Don.
Yeah.
How far are you from Detour?
Detroit, Michigan. Where?
Detour, Michigan, on the upper peninsula there out on the east end.
Yeah, you'd have to get down to the bridge first, and then that's 280 miles. You'd be there in about 4 hours, and then head south in the lower peninsula. We call that the Mitten, and it's the lower part there. Whoops, yeah. There we go.
No, it's on the east end. It's a little town on the east end of the UP.
Yeah.
Opposite the island out there.
Mackin Island. Okay, is it there's St. Ignace, there's Sault Ste. Marie.
It's not far from Sault Ste. Marie, right down the road there.
What's the name of it?
Detour.
Detour. Oh yeah. There's Hell, Christmas, Paradise, Detour, all these little towns up here.
I've been there once some years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
His family has a house up there.
Yeah, it's great. It's in the middle of nowhere, and you know the tourism is snowmobilers, a little bit of skiing. There's a lumber industry for that. There's a university, and then it's a lot of trees and lakes, and not too many people. So COVID isolation is really quite easy. We're already isolated. So, yeah. Well, thanks for the time. Great catching up with everybody.
Okay, Don.
Good seeing you, Don.
Thank you.
Clark, I've got a show and tell when you got a minute.
Go ahead, Richard.
Okay, well, I'd just like to show this. Betty, this is one of my pieces of woodwork. I made these on the lathe. This is one of several.
Oh, Richard, I love that. Well, Ken was telling me the other day about your wood shop, and I hated that I missed that, but I love it. Thank you for showing that to me.
I'll see if I can pass the one up for you.
Oh, I'd love it. Believe it or not, with my Christmas decor, I have like a whole snowman collection. So that would be very special. Thank you.
Okay, well, this is Santa.
Is he made on the lathe too?
Yes, yes. Yes, it's all wood except for the cotton wool and a couple of little bits of dowel rod and the beads that I glued on the end. This is another bead that I glued on the top.
I love it, Richard. You are so creative.
Oh, I've got to show you one more Santa. Just a second.
So, been nice. Thanks for all the tech info.
Thanks for coming, Chris. Have a Merry Christmas.
Oh, Fred. Good to see you.
Hey, when you're retired there, Chris, join in on our Tuesday morning breakfasts on Zoom.
You'll have to send me the link then.
It's the same one you used today.
Okay, got it.
To 8 o'clock Tuesday morning.
All righty.
Good to see you, Chris.
This is my other Santa.
Oh.
They're all actually separate.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
They're just basically sort of square bits of wood cut at an angle. So they all fit together, you know, like that. You've got a sort of three of them.
Uh-oh.
I love it. They almost remind me of like little gnomes. That's great.
Yes, yes.
You don't need to buy any kits. You've got all sorts of creative genes right there.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Well, I say I'm stuck here on my own. I've got to do something. I'll go around the twist, otherwise.
Sign up for that vaccine, Richard.
Sign up for what?
For the vaccine.
Oh hell, I hope so. Yeah, I think I was saying my daughter's mother-in-law, 80 plus. She's had hers on Wednesday last week. The doctors in England, the doctors ring you up and tell you to come in for your shot. So you don't actually book it yourself. They tell you when to come. So presumably they're working down. You know, they're at the 80 plus people at the moment, and then I guess it's the 70s and so on. I don't know quite how it's going to go there, but certainly I will definitely get the shot.
Here they're doing the frontline workers first, and then the nursing home workers and residents.
Yeah.
They may not get to people that are 80 and over until March. So that's
Really?
pretty amazing that they're getting, yeah.
I know that I did speak to someone in Valley View Hospital, in the pharmacy there, and they've got the refrigerator for this stuff, the big super duper cold refrigerator, they tell me. So I presume they're all ready for it when it comes.
Well, there was a little screw up in the distribution the last few days, but the general who's in charge was on TV this morning, and he admitted to the screw up, and he said he will have it fixed. It was his responsibility, and he'll have it fixed in a day or so. So the stuff that didn't get shipped, they were all a little short of doses, like 30% short. So that should be resolved this coming week.
Court-martial him, court-martial him.
No, let him do his job.
Okay, yeah, even better.
He just got up and said, "It's my fault. I did it," and he took responsibility.
That's good.
Good.
Gene, what's going on in Wisconsin? Unmute. Unmute.
Space bar.
Push your space bar on the computer.
How's that?
Oh, we got you.
So what's going on in Wisconsin? Is it snowing?
Well, all the ski hills happen to be open already. Just saying.
I want you to talk to Don over there, W0CTX, and tell him about our Upper Peninsula adventures.
Oh man. Yeah, down many years ago, the Lutkys and Cracklows had an A-frame up in the UP, close to Indian Head on the western end, and we spent many a weekend up there. It was a great area.
40 below zero, 50 below zero.
That was just wind chill.
Yeah.
That's 120 miles south of me.
Yeah, it's a big UP.
Yeah.
Well, it was standard procedure for the lift operators to check your face for frostbite when you loaded.
We haven't said hello to Rob yet. Hi, Bob, K0ALN.
Well, hello, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody here. It's I've had kind of a mixed few weeks here. We had the house re-shingled, and during that process, found out we had a frozen faucet on the outside of the house that leaked down the walls in the basement and into the office area on the main level here. So I had to have all that mitigated and worked on finally, and everything's moved out here in the living room. It's just a mess. So finally, Wednesday, we get new carpet, and so we can get stuff put back, hopefully before Christmas. That's our goal. And had to cancel our plans to go out east to Great Falls, Virginia to see the kids and the grandbaby. And then I sit down next to Jeanette one night on the sofa, and just my tooth fell out into my hand. I was getting ready for getting my trumpet playing ready for the Messiah. They're doing a virtual performance of that this year. And so that kind of put that on hold. So $6,500 later, I was saving for a new camper. That we're probably get a bridge put in within the next month, and we'll see how that works. I don't know if I'll ever be able to play again, but we'll see. It's been a good run for 70 plus years, so can't complain too much.
So the trumpet won't work if you don't have a front tooth, huh?
Boy, it sure didn't work with this, I'll tell you. But I picked up a new toy or two, got the Anytone and the Skybridge hotspot for that. And so I've been playing around with DMR a little bit, and it's kind of fun, but I feel guilty every time I get on it because it.
Bob, what
so I'm working on.
What Anytone did you get? Is that the 878 Anytone?
Yeah, it's the 878 Plus. And of
Okay.
course, about 10 days after I received it, then they came out with a new hotspot, the Bridgecom, oh, let's see, what is it? Skybridge Plus now, but I can't imagine needing any more than what came with it, with what I got. So it's fun. It's a lot to figure out though. God, I got so screwed up. I'm still wading through everything, trying to figure out how to get out of some of the groups that just every time somebody talks and I'm listening to something else, and all of a sudden it reverts back to an old one. So I've got to figure out how to disconnect and all that. So it's quite a process. Those of you playing around with it have probably know more than I do about it.
Yeah, you gotta talk to Jess and to Brian N0THY. They're both on DMR.
Cool. Yeah, we'll do that. And I've got the ski country talk group programmed in, so I can go to it. But I tried to listen a few times and make a contact, but I haven't heard anything. So that's probably not overly active by any means. But the worldwide one is just going all the time. And this time of day, it's just all Europeans, and it's so don't have to worry about propagation anyway. And I've got my pole out here on the deck, and I'm just about ready to put it up with a dipole and get on HF again. So that'll be fun. Anyway, I got all kinds of projects, just gradually working at it. And I wanted to mention, if anybody is interested, I have a 40-foot crank up tower, two 20-foot sections. It's the old Tristeo brand. And I have the raising fixture with it. And if anyone would like that, I will be happy to donate it. And maybe by springtime could do that. But with all the stuff going on with new repeaters and nodes and everything, if anybody has use for that, I'd be happy to donate it if you'll come and take it away. But other than that, not a whole lot. Getting ready for Christmas and trying to keep up with everything.
I say, Bob, you talking about what you want for Christmas, like your two front teeth.
Yeah, I'd settle for one.
If it makes you feel any better, I had one of mine at the side go out, which meant I've always been 4 short on the upper deck. I got a full set on the lower deck, but the upper decks always had 4 short, and I ended up with another one breaking, so I was down to 5 short on the upper deck. I thought, to hell with it, I'll get the implants. So I actually went along, and I've now got 3 implants on one side and 2 on the other. For the very modest price of about 20,000.
Yeah,
and that's without the crowns. So I'd say, can you do triple tonguing without a tooth?
I don't know. I've been trying to whistle and everything, but it doesn't seem to work. I have a friend though that had his done in Mexico, and he found a very good dentist in Mexico, and I think it was about $3,500 for many teeth. Anyway, the estimate up here was around 30,000, and so it saved a bit. But of course, then you run the risk of Mexico. You don't know what you're getting for sure. So maybe someday.
Sure.
I'll get this.
They're probably the wooden ones, like wasn't it Washington had wooden ones, wasn't it, or something like that?
I was going to get a piece of wood and paint it black and put in there.
It looks quite black right now.
Yeah.
You need gold. You need gold in there, Bob.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, you need a gold one.
And get a necklace to match.
I'm looking forward to getting over this stupid. I'm getting that crazy just staying put. We get out and I walk the dog about 3 miles a day, and we do good walks and stuff. But other than that, staying pretty close in here. And yesterday, just in Aspen alone, there were 48 new confirmed cases. So that's the highest we've ever had. The most I'd seen before that was 20 or 21. Yesterday,
Yeah.
48. So it's
Garfield County has Aspen beat.
Yeah.
really.
Garfield was 106.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's
Now the people from California the super spreaders are arriving today and tomorrow, so it'll get even worse.
yeah. I had a friend who flew in from LA yesterday. She said there were only 7 people on the plane. Everybody else had canceled. And
Well, a lot of people are driving, so they don't have to do the affidavit.
oh, good idea. Yeah, good point. Yeah, we're gonna try to get out and ski tomorrow because our passes aren't good then for the next week, I think, after that. So.
Well, if anyone wants to ski at Sunlight, they open the Segundo lift today.
Well, interesting. I think I just mentioned it. My daughters, they're only allowed to have Christmas Day together as a family now because they've gone to lockdown level 4 in London.
Yeah, we have a good friend in London.
This is because the virus has mutated or something. And, by all accounts, it spreads much quicker than the original one.
Yeah, I just read that this morning on the news about that one.
Did you catch it twice though? I mean, if you had the regular one already, the regular virus.
I don't know. That was my question was, will the shot still work on the new one? And I honestly don't know. I hope they're looking into that. I just wondered whether we're getting the mutation here in America as well.
Yeah.
Seems likely.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, they can't get those shots soon enough.
Hey, Zero DSC, we haven't seen you yet. Can we hear you? Hello.
You might be able to. Let me see if I can figure out how to make this work.
Okay.
Can you see me?
No, you need to click on your camera in the lower corner.
Lower left corner.
You stop.
Well, it tells me that video failed to start. Please select a camera. This is my first time using Zoom.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I spend all day at work on other video chat platforms, and so I choose not to do that in my free time. Let me just see here, because I thought I had set it up.
Yeah, if you click on go to the bottom left side where it says start video, and then you got to select the camera usually.
Yeah, it's selected, but who knows? I'll tinker with it since I installed this program.
It's nice to hear you anyway.
It's good to see everyone else and hear everybody. I don't think I'll make it up this year just with everything going on. I'm not going to risk coming up to ski. So
yeah. So how is there anything open down by you? How's Taos doing?
Yeah, Taos opened, Santa Fe opened. Sandia had 11 inches, but they're not open yet.
Yeah.
That's right outside of Albuquerque here. Excuse me. They have a reservation system. So you have to get a reservation to pick your day you're going to ski. And then it's a reduced capacity number of people. And then you can go. So I haven't even looked into it to see when and if I will go.
Yeah.
But I'll probably just do some, I know they implemented a more stringent uphill policy as well. I saw someone was complaining about it online, and the other people were responding back saying, look around the other resorts around the country. It's pretty generous what they're doing. So
yeah,
a lot of places made a lot more strict. So we'll see. I'll get out. I'm staying busy with work though. It's slowed down a bit for the holidays, but it never slows down anymore. And
so, are you guys busy doing the? Do they have to ask you permission if they're on national forest land?
No, everything's still been open. We have not closed down. And here in New Mexico, it's been a little more stringent than other states. The governor closed state parks, and A lot of the national parks had closed, and so we were the only ones open. So we just were slammed with visitation.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's back open now, although we're kind of closed up again. But the forest is still open. We're staying busy there.
Yeah.
Well, you can always cross-country ski in your forest.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'll get out and do a little bit. They've actually been getting some snow up high, so I'll get out.
Yeah. We've been up to Sunlight 3 times, and it's decent now. So, and we went during the week. There, crowds weren't real big. If you get up there early in the morning, there's no lines at all. So we ski 5-6 runs and then go snowshoeing. But the first couple hours, there's hardly anybody on the hill at all.
Yeah, that sounds like the way to do it.
Yeah.
Welcome, Ray. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
You got the authentic beard there, Ray.
Yeah, Santa Claus is what's happening here.
We haven't really talked to Ann and Tony yet. Are you really there, Ann? Just her decorations are there.
Well, she walked in.
Ann was on. She said she had a family Zoom come up, and so she was going to be away for a minute.
Okay, I didn't hear that. So I wish we could offer you some punch.
Yeah.
And some turkey or ham.
Hey, Greg, how are you doing up there?
Where's Greg?
You got to unmute. Tell us what you've been up to. Most of the people probably don't know you. Greg's an old-time member, of the club.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm feeling a little older. Bob, thanks for that. It's been good. I'm doing all right. Julie is not here today. She's skiing down there with her pals, and they did a hut trip down there in where the hell was it? We're out quite a bit. I stayed home this weekend with the pup, and it was girls only this weekend. So they're down there having a good time at around 10,000 feet. So I'm staying home. Good. I'm finishing up my schooling, so that's good. I'll have more time for radio. I'm looking forward to jumping back into it and getting a little reacquainted with some of the physics. Very interested in the magnetic property of the wave and the loop antenna, and and receiving the magnetic property of the wave first. Anyway, that's where my interest is. I've shifted interest from more of a literary thing to back into science. But you guys know this. Everybody knows this here. You got to keep that mind going, and you know it's a real it's a treat to use it. And if you don't, we all know that you lose it.
Yeah.
Could you repeat the question, please?
What's that? Yes. There's a bright one there now.
Hey, Don, you said you had a loop antenna. Why don't you tell Greg what it looks like or how you built it?
He's probably talking about a magnetic loop. I just have a delta loop wire. It's 7 feet on the side, triangular with a 4-pin ball. And but I ran an SWR. It resonates on, well, it's for 40 meters, but it resonates on 7, 14, 21, 28.
Wow.
Yeah, it works just really good. And then when I'm in Colorado, I'm using a 20-meter delta loop, so it's half that distance, and I have an extendo rod to get it up in the air, and I lash it onto the Jeep and go. But I have an interest in trying some. I've done a lot of just literature searching on these magnetic loops, and there are some good ones and bad ones. And they're real tweaky, you know. I mean, they have a very narrow bandwidth, but I'm real interested in trying it. One of my guys that owns a CTX10, it's a 10-watt transceiver, owns it. He's in Western Australia, and he just sets it on his back porch, and I think I'm not sure it's 80 meters, but he's always saying he's getting 1,500 kilometers. Everything works great out there. There's no ambient noise or anything, you know. But you know, it'd be fun to mess around with it, you know, automate it. Every time
I think Bob Cutter's done a bit of that, haven't you, Bob? Bob Cutter? He's done some magnetic loop stuff, I think.
I think he was at one myself right now, a mag loop for the high frequency bands.
In the past as well.
I've got an Alex loop that really works well.
What kind of loop are you using, Ray?
It's a commercial one. It's from MFJ. I think it's called the 1876 or the 1786. They make two versions of it. One is for 40 through 15, which is the one I have. And the other is, I believe, maybe it's 30 through 10. And it's got a motor drive in it. It sends a DC voltage over the signal wire, and that will step that motor. It is very high Q, but once I get it tuned up, it's less than 1.3 to 1 SWR on all frequencies. There are some frequencies when I tune it that the needle doesn't even move, so it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's taken a little bit of getting used to learn how to chase somebody who's calling CQ on CW or something, tune up a couple hundred KC high and then retune the antenna. And just the other day, I had a conversation, a sideband conversation on, I guess it was 17 meters with somebody in Vancouver. And they could notice the stepping up and down as I move the antenna to get it perfectly resonant. But he said it also demonstrated no QSB when all the other signals on the air were being susceptible to that. So I'm still trying to figure it out myself. How does this antenna address the magnetic side of the equation? I'm not sure. It seems to be a Tesla design to the whole thing, and that always appeals to me.
What height do you have it at?
Okay, this is interesting. I've got it about 30 feet high, and I have it in horizontal orientation, which makes it fully omnidirectional.
How much power?
150 watts.
And what bands does it work on?
40 through 15. I am having an issue, Bob, that I think you mentioned you had once. When I get to the highest frequencies available to me, the 15 and 17 meter range, it triggers my smoke detectors. And they sound like a basketball buzzer. So I'm going to have to climb up there and see if the house I'm in had those smoke detectors put in here. It was built in the 80s. So there may be new technology. Maybe if I have a battery powered smoke detector, it won't have those two leads that are basically antennas for it.
You're going to have to put your house in a Faraday cage.
just around the smoke detector.
Yeah.
Our battery operated, what are they called? Carbon monoxide detectors go off when he's on 40 meters. So it isn't the wires, it's the whole. They're just battery operated.
But you know, they're connected obviously to the AC power.
Oh, that's true. They are plugged in.
But there's 3 of them, and when I operate, you just unplug them.
Oh, well, I have to climb a ladder about 20 feet in my living room to do that.
Oh, okay, well, my ceilings aren't that high.
If your smoke detectors are tied together, there's like a sense line that if one goes off, they all go off, and that a lot of times is causing it. So
our fire alarms do that.
One of those little snap-on cores around it.
Oh, did that work?
Oh, what, those snap-on ferrite cores around? Where do you put that?
So there's there's power, and then there's like a sense line.
Yes, I
that
know.
goes off. They all go off, and if you put one of those little snap-on chokes on it, that kind
I've
of
got
helps a
about
little
10
bit.
in my house. How many snap-ons do I need?
One for, I guess.
One for each.
It's on
every one.
I mean, if you can identify one's worse than the other, maybe just start with that.
Okay, yeah.
I put one on. They're in my bedrooms, and they're on each one. But usually, I just
Yeah.
that if it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it helped a lot. It seemed to help a little bit. So
I was amazed when I built my house that the code required one inside the room and one outside the room. Got damn things all over the place, all connected together. And then, of course, a blooming spider gets in one and the whole damn lot goes off.
right. Battery goes dead on one of them, and you have to figure out which one it is. And
it's hell of a time trying to sleep through that noise.
At 2 o'clock in the morning too. It's never.
We had that happen at 6:30 this morning for us. It was, and I thought I found that I pulled out the carbon monoxide, and it wasn't the carbon monoxide, it was the fire. So I just,
yeah.
Well, I disconnected my entire doorbell to the house thinking that's where the noise was coming from. And now that I've rewired a brand new doorbell, it wasn't even involved. It was always the smoke detector.
Oh,
well, I've got a doorbell here. My doorbell, if the power goes off, when the power is restored, it rings my front door bell, even if you get a glitch. So I don't know what causes that, but the damn thing goes. And I suddenly get the Westminster chimes go off, and I go to the door. There's no one there, but it's just there's been a power glitch.
It's a feature. It's a feature.
It certainly is. Yes. Now I know. See the power, the lights go off. Next thing I know, and rings the bell to tell me it's back on again.
And that's pretty much every afternoon in the summer, right?
Here it does go on and off a lot. I'm amazed. Yes. Well, they've got it's all overhead stuff, with palm trees hanging over the top of the blooming wires everywhere.
Hey, Christine, what are you and Mike doing for Christmas here? Are you guys going out skiing or cross country or snowshoeing or what?
Well, we do plan to do those at point. It won't necessarily be on Christmas Day. In fact, with us both retired, we can get to a trailhead on a weekday or a non-holiday when it's going to be less crowded,
We sure know about that.
Yeah, Sunlight's been pretty nice for that. And plus the snowshoeing up there is superb. It's really good.
Well, I'd love to get up there and do that.
Yeah.
And speaking of retirement, I am now available to participate in little work parties that go up to repeater sites. I'd love to be included in that but I will say, if you're going up the JQS road, I will meet you there. Because the one time I went on the JQS road, I promised myself I would never do it again.
Well, if you do it during the week, like I said, we only had 2 incidences, and one was not a real problem. Okay, there are 3 vehicles coming down, but it was plenty wide. But this pickup truck, he was coming down, so he would have had to back up quite a ways, and he nosed his pickup truck until it hit the rocks on the side. Okay, it was a brand new truck, as I recall, and I mean, when we went around, I bet we didn't have 6 inches or 8 inches on the side before there was a cliff. So I don't know, is Kevin still here? I don't know who's here or who's not here.
Way.
How about Ken? Hey, Kevin, what did you think about passing that pickup truck?
Well, I had to fold in my power mirrors because I'd probably hit those.
It's not comfortable when you do that. I mean, you could drop a wheel. You probably wouldn't go over, but I don't know how you would extricate yourself from that.
I was pretty comfortable as a passenger, though.
And she's on the outside. But
So, Brad, tell me, what is the make of that transceiver that you've got knitted onto your T-shirt?
I don't know.
Hard to say.
It's very good. Where did you get that? I mean, you know, it's Christmas and also ham radio. Amazing.
Yeah, I know. My daughter-in-law got that for me. She's also a ham, so that's okay.
Oh, that's good. Very original.
Yeah, it is. They had so when we were at Dayton, the one and only time we went. Well, no, I've gone a couple of times. I went with Rob there, K0AL, ALN. Anyway, sorry, Christine. So anyway, we went once, but they must have had 25 or 30 different T-shirts that were just all unique. That they were. So you could buy those if you probably search the internet and find them. They have some real very risque ones also, Richard.
Oh, that's what I need. Great. So what's the cat's name?
Well, that's Ella.
Ella. Oh.
She wants to be part of everything.
My granddaughter's called Ella.
Oh,
I say
yeah?
my granddaughter's called Ella. Yeah, yeah. I'll just tell her when I see her that I just seen a black cat with the same name. It's got to be lucky.
She's named for Ella Fitzgerald, but she has a voice like a foghorn.
Oh,
Hey, I have a diagram I want to share. I think Greg would probably get this, and some of the rest of you. I don't know if it'll show up or not, but yeah, this is. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
To be or not to be.
Yeah, it was Shakespeare was an engineer. It was.
That's pretty clever.
Very good. To be or not to be. Very good.
Yeah.
Where's Pam today, Clark?
She is right in front of me getting her lunch right now.
Ah, okay.
Pam, you want to come by and say hi?
We haven't seen Mike yet either. So Christine, do you think you're going to stay retired this time?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the idea of maybe a little bit of part-time work, but I really like the flexible schedule that I have right now.
Time to start writing again.
Well, maybe, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, I mostly just want to ride my bike.
I hope you have good snow tires.
Well, you know, I have to ride indoors when it gets really cold, but I do doing a lot of walking, and you know, it's kind of fun to get back on the air. You know, with some HF. The club meeting has been really interesting to me. It just reminded me how little I know about VHF and repeaters. You know, I've always been an HF operator, but I feel as though I ought to learn more. And then also having kind of been away from the club for a while, just, you know, not being in the meetings, just hearing some unfamiliar terminology and realizing that I have a lot of catching up to do.
Richard, are you heading to England anytime?
I would love to, but you know, at the moment they're on permanent lockdown, and if I turn up, if I was, you know, sort of prepared to get on a plane for 8 hours or whatever it is to Heathrow, then I've got to then go and lock myself down for 14 days before I can see anybody. So I don't particularly want to do that. But I'd love to be able to go there for Christmas. It would be great, but it's just not the right time. I think we're going to delete this year and hope next year's better, you know, but crazy.
We'll be Zooming for Christmas. My daughter.
Yeah, I think that-
My daughter-in-law is getting a whole songbook together so we can sing Christmas carols together, which does not work on Zoom.
Right, right. I keep getting some real funny things sent to me by people over in England. I mean, there's some crazy, this is a crazy one I've seen here. I've got to show you this. This is,
chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
we've got to see, I don't know if you can see this.
Stop laughing, Clark.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Oh dear.
He actually sets fire to his trousers, you know. It's... There's so many of these. I mean, the people, I mean, it's great, isn't it, when we've got this technology. I think we'd go crazy if we couldn't talk to each other and, you know, stuck in our houses all the time. But there's funny things that people are sending. I mean, there's this other one I got sent to me, which I'll show you that one, this one as well, if I can get the sound to come on.
What you said is true, Richard, about the first time I ever saw a video phone was at the Museum of Science and Industry in about 1963, 64.
Right.
And, I mean, you know, think about it. Literally, we were talking on Ma Bell back then between one end of the museum and the other. And you say, oh man, this is unbelievable. And they say, oh yes, this will be part of your future. And it took quite a while, but it's truly amazing what you see in your lifetime if you're old.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, when I worked for British Telecom, I had 33 years working for British Telecom. And I remember when they introduced the video phone that was, you know, to work over twisted pairs, you know, copper wire.
Yeah.
And never caught on. It just didn't catch on. I don't think people will afford to buy the phone. You know, it was too expensive or something.
Yeah.
But, you know, everyone thought, oh my goodness, you can see who you're talking to. Fantastic. But it never caught on. So it's crazy. It's a bit like when they introduced text. You know, when I was working at the beginning in the Generation 1 and Generation 2, and they introduced during Generation 2, the push buttons of text, you know, you want to see you press 2-3 times, you know, and all that. And I thought, this is stupid. Who's going to be taking the time and bother to do something like that, you know? Then I went to Hong Kong and they're all doing it. Crazy. But you never know how it's going to go. So you just you just get on the phone and you can see everybody on your phone now, you know. And I talk to my daughter every day on the Zoom. Not on the Zoom, on the WhatsApp. Yeah, yeah. I tell you what, if you were running a landline service, you must be getting a little bit worried now because people don't use the phone anymore, do they? The landline system seems to have gone really amazing.
Yeah, basically Comcast gives it away. It's just, you know, yeah, you get it. If you sign up, you get it. And video pretty much going the same way now. You know, it's gonna, you know, regular cable TV is pretty much gone at this point. I mean, it's still there, but people are just not using it anymore.
Right.
My frustration is the phone book doesn't help me find people anymore.
Google does.
No, not very well. Not unless I'm willing to pay.
The funny thing is I remember,
you know,
from my youth, but I don't remember anybody's phone number now.
Oh, for sure. You're right.
Do you remember your home phone number?
Oh, absolutely. My own number now or my parents' phone?
No, your parents when you're home.
I got that one. It's 467-7633.
I tell you the age difference. Mine was SO23915.
SO was what was the street?
No, SO was just South Milwaukee.
Okay.
That was part of the prefix. It was SO23915.
Okay. The South Exchange.
Chicago, they all started with names too. Mine was Briargate 4, BR 43433. But they were all different prefixes that they just gave a name to instead of numbers. So you could remember them easier.
Mine was 498J. It was a party line, so you guys had to listen before you talked.
Where was that, Rob?
In Sturgis, South Dakota.
We had a party line too with a Little Falls 41533J. Way back. They'd talk to an operator to place a call.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I had the same. I was at Elmbridge 2796, Elmbridge in Surbiton. And that was the last manual telephone exchange in the London area, which I happened to work in. So, you know, I did a talk about it once. And that was a 10,000 line central battery system, #1, with about 50 operators during the busy hour.
Turn a crank in those days to get the operator?
No, that was a magneto system. That was before the central battery system. That's where you got ringing on and ringing off, you know, and you wound the handle and a little drop flap would come down to tell the operator that someone was wanting to make a call. But yeah, magneto, and that was where you had every line had its own battery in each house. So you had to have and there were open Leclanche cells in glass jars with a zinc rod and sal ammoniac in a carbon rod, you know, and you had to put distilled water in every so often, otherwise it'd dry out.
Brian, did you have phone service in Africa?
Yeah, the first place we lived at, this was in the country of Zambia. And anyway, at that time, we were at a mission hospital. Of course, we were on about 1,000 acres of land, but there was one phone at the hospital building, and then we lived probably about a mile away. And it was we had a phone in our house there too. And then there's another phone at in one village about 3 or 4 miles away. And then there was another phone. Oh, and in fact, that was in a house just down the hill from our house. And of course, this is all the way out in the country in a remote area. But anyway, they were those old crank style phones. And so you had to, and I think there were dry cell batteries in them. I'm not too sure. But you had to crank it. And I remember ours is like 4 longs and 2 shorts or something like that. And so the number of times you cranked was the number of rings that it would give to the other phones. The problem was we would quite often, fortunately there wasn't a lot of phone traffic there, but but of course when somebody was wanting to talk to somebody else, we would hear them ringing their phone, and then of course if we went, then we could lift the microphone up off the phone and or not the phone, and then we could hear the speaker, and then we could hear them talking on the other end. So I mean, it's real easy to eavesdrop. Of course, we never really did that. There's no reason to do that. But I remember this one time, my sister, she was really getting upset because her phone was just sort of ringing like that, and you know, it was nothing for us at all or anything like that. Well, she found a good way to make things quiet, and that was just to simply take the microphone up off the hook and just leave it. Well, of course, that tied up the whole system. My dad found out about that, and he made sure, that she didn't do that again.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it looks like you've got that was quite advanced, that you had dry cells rather than the wet ones.
Oh yeah, but now I guess they never had to put landlines in or anything after that. So now I guess over there, cell phones are
Yeah.
What they use now, because if they don't have the big need for the lines and the infrastructure like that. So
Sure.
everybody's on it using cell phones there now.
Yes. I guess there's got to be a case for developing a cell phone telephone directory.
Well, that would keep telemarketers happy.
Yeah, it sure would.
I mean, I'm at the point right now, if I do not recognize a phone number, or if I don't have or if there's a person who, if a person who's calling me that's not on my call list, or I don't recognize the number, I don't answer it. And I figure, well, if it's that important, they can just go to voicemail. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so in fact,
I was in a restaurant a long time ago now, but the guy next to me, he got a phone call in one of these junk phone calls, and he answered it. He said, "Suicide line here. Can you hold?" I thought that was different.
Hang up.
Well, I do Medicare counseling, and I never know who's going to call me, so I answer everything. But I get an awful lot of junk calls that way.
Yeah.
Bob? Hey, Bob?
Yeah.
This Bob or that Bob?
That Bob. That Bob. This morning, I forgot to mention that I thought you did a great job on that flyer, the mailing that you sent out for the search and rescue people and everything else. It was a good overview.
Oh yeah, in fact, we probably could send that out. I can put that online, and seeing Susie's going to be doing the stuff, I can put that on the website.
That's a good idea. That could be your first assignment on the new webpage activity.
That's good, because I just got to pass it over to Susan.
That's right.
Kevin's been putting some updates on the website already, so we're doing pretty well, I think.
I have a party line story.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s, I lived in a kind of a remote place in the Appalachian Mountains, and my housemate, I had a cat, and we had a party line, and my housemate introduced a new cat into the household just before we both left for Thanksgiving. And so the house was empty except for the two cats who fought all over the house. And apparently while we were gone, they knocked the phone off the hook. But we were on a party line. So that meant that no one else on the party line could use their phones over Thanksgiving. And when I got home from visiting my parents in Richmond, there was a phone company truck sitting in the driveway waiting for us to come home.
Did the cats ever get along?
No, they didn't. And in fact, my roommate made the mistake of letting hers out. And they were both indoor-outdoor cats, but when you move, you have to keep your cat in for like 6 weeks to convince it that this is home. And she let her cat out and he never came back. It was sad.
When I was growing up, my best friend had a system on their phone where in order to make a call, they had to put a nickel in the phone. So they had a big bowl of nickels next to the telephone. I never figured out why they had that and nobody else I knew had it.
Well, he probably did a payphone installation.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was very mysterious to me.
You could actually, in England, you could actually buy one of those phones. And I think a lot of people would buy them because in England, you pay by time and distance. It's not, local calls aren't free in England. It depends how long you chat. So you still pay by time on the local calls. So people with teenage kids would buy one of those things and said, if you want to make a call, you've got to put your money in it, and you could take it out at the bottom there, but that's one of the people with teenagers who are on the phone all the time. Of course, now it's not. They've all got mobile phones, haven't they?
Yeah, and they pay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. Yes, I suppose they do. Yeah. Yeah.
So
where's Clark? Anything else on the agenda, Clark?
well, the last thing on the agenda was this party, so that's what we're doing right now. We're having a
You just
party.
talk as long as you want.